testing. I'd like to call to order the March 17, 2025 City Commissioners meeting. I'd like to say happy St. Patty's Day for those of us who are Irish. And at this time, I'd like to do a roll call, please.
Susan Jett, present. Joe Kaiser.
Here.
Tony Stallsmith.
Here.
Ron Page. Here. David Eagle.
All present and accounted for. I'd like now to take a moment of silence to try to remember all those who were affected by the tornadoes this past weekend, and first responders and all those others that are working to help us get back on our feet. Volunteers, thank you. All right, thank you very much. Now we'd like to get an approval for the agenda. Any motion for approval of the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda. I second.
All in favor? Aye. Aye. Any against? All right, agenda has been approved. Now we need to get a approval for the minutes of the January 17th special meeting. I'm sorry, February, thanks for correcting me. The February 17th special meeting. No, this was not a regular meeting. Oh, for the special meeting is the 24th. Got it. For the 17th, the regular meeting, I have one thing in here that is not correct. On property owner discussion, I was not under that. I was under chairman's statement. And it says I made a statement that feels like I can make motions and vote and sought the advice from Holiday Island, the law firm, with further discussion at next meeting. And that's not what was decided then. All I did was give the lawyers, I passed out the lawyer's opinion on whether or not I can vote or not and make motions.
And did what?
I gave them, I sent out that paper.
I've gotten copies of it.
Yeah, you got the copy. Everybody got a copy at the meeting that showed the lawyer's opinion on the chairman making motions and voting. And there was nothing talked about a further discussion at that time.
So where do you want to see to go?
Did I not do it after the updates, or did I do it before the updates, GM updates?
I can go back and look at last month's minutes and put it where, I mean, in that the last meeting agenda, and put it where, because I really don't remember.
Okay.
But I can fix that.
All right, thank you. So can we have a motion to, need a motion to accept the minutes, the amended minutes?
Make a motion to accept 17th, February 17th meeting.
With amendments?
Yes.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, we approve the minutes for February 17th. Now for the minutes of February 24th, special meeting.
Can I ask a question? How can we approve those minutes if there weren't any changes to be made?
He said with the amended minutes. His motion was to approve the minutes with the amendment the amended minutes.
The only thing she's going to redo those minutes, but if you don't agree with it then?
I'm not sure I understand what you're
She's going to make the adjustment to the minutes that she made a statement about.
Right.
She said she was going to go back and review the.
to see where to put it, but they will be amended. So we've already passed that. That's for the special meeting. Special meeting Monday, February 24th. Anybody have anything? You had a chance to read those minutes? We have a motion to approve the February 24th special meeting minutes by Dave Neville, seconded by Joe. All in favor? Any opposed? And those minutes are approved. All right, with that, we will go to the property owners discussion. If you have 3 minutes, if you'd like to stand up at the mic, do we have a mic for them?
This one doesn't.
Please state your name, your address, and you have 3 minutes.
You don't know.
Just for the record, please.
Danger, it's been a while, but I noticed on the agenda under old business, you're going to be addressing Chairman voting rights. Granted, this is a form of government, it's quasi-government, so a lot of rules that apply to like the city, county, state do not apply here. And that being said, we elect 5 commissioners. As a property owner, I'd like to know how the commissioner's thinking and voting during his tenure his or her tenure as chairman. I think it's good for the property owners to see that time. Granted, they got a 4-year period. That's 1 year at a time, but still, that's 1 year we don't know what he's thinking about. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Next, please.
Hi, I'm Tracy Lee. I live at 1 Pusa.
Would you please say your name again?
Tracy Lee.
Okay.
So what I wanted to talk about is the same subject that Dave talked about, the chairman being able to vote. And I'd like to just say basically the same thing. So when we elected the members of the board, it's understood that no one member had any more power than the others. That also means they have no less power than the others. So I, like Dave, would like to understand and see how every member of this board votes on every single issue that comes up. It may influence the way I vote the next time if that person decides to run again. So there are some boards, I've done a lot of research, there's some boards that allow the chairman to vote, there are some boards that don't allow to vote. There are also boards that allow the chairman to vote only if there's a tie. So I think you have to ask yourself why you wouldn't want any particular member of this board to not vote. I think it's important. So what exactly is the concern for the chairman to vote? I don't understand why there would be a concern for that person to have a vote. So when all the board members are present at the meeting and 3 vote a certain way, the motion passes or fails, however, and that's the way it goes. My concern would be when 1 member is absent and we only have 4 members present, if the chairman doesn't get to vote, you only have 3 eligible votes for that item. If all 3 vote the same way, no issue. If 2 vote one way and 1 votes another, essentially you're having only 2 members of the board vote on something that will affect us as a community. We have a board of 5, and I would like to see 3 members of this board vote to change something, not 2 members. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. Does anybody else have anything else to say?
I got one thing. I was going to be quiet. I think I'm going to go ahead and talk. So my name is Tim Lee, 1 Pusa Circle. First of all, I applaud you guys for what you do. I know it's a ridiculously tough job, and you spend a lot of time on it, and it's very difficult. But I want to echo the thoughts of the previous people that were up here. What I think is weird is I watched all the meetings, and I watched the last one. Mr. Neville was pretty upset with some reasoning about why the chair did or did not get to vote. What was weird to me is that Tony was voted by you guys to be the chair, not by me. I voted for all 5 of you to be on this board. So if next year, will Tony get voted to be the chair again so he can't vote? I mean, that makes no sense to me. So it was supposed to be a circle where you went around, and I think Tony kind of jumped in front of you two, because you guys just didn't want to be. I was here for the meeting, I watched it when Tony was nominated to be chair, and maybe one of you two guys should have taken chair, because it was your turn. These guys took their turn, so why did Tony? So I don't understand, if you get to vote on who the chair is, that chair doesn't get to vote. That seems kind of unfair. But anyway, thank you for what you do.
Thank you, Tim. Anybody else? Okay. With that, we'll move on to the general manager's update.
Hey, everybody. First thing on our agenda is about Sequoia Dam. I'm sure many of y'all have seen some guys over there doing some surveying and the drones and marking some things. So the last 2 weeks they have been in town. I think you may have known that at the special meeting that the commissioners approved to go through phase 1 of this step. So they're kind of in the middle of that phase. I really don't have any other updates. They told us that they would let us know what they found once the boring was done. They haven't come in to do that part of the geo part of it yet. So I would say at our next meeting, at our April meeting, I should have more information to be able to update us on. But they have arrived, they have been here, they are doing work, so the process has started. The Proctor Golf Tournament is scheduled for the 12th of April. It will be back at the North Course. Please sign up if you're interested in playing golf. This is for the property owners only. We've had a really good time the last couple of years, so we anticipate another great turnout, beautiful weather, and it'll be back at the North Course. Both of the golf shops have registration forms on the counters in there. Omaha Miniature Golf. So some of y'all may recall back last October and November that the commissioners devoted to put some money into fixing the erosion, which was the problem with the Omaha Golf Course or Omaha Miniature Golf Course. And so we were able to correct that problem pretty easily. We purchased the carpet ourselves, and we had the pleasure of the Sharp County inmates coming out all last week and working to help get the carpet installed. So the labor was basically less than $500 for the week, because all we're required to do is feed them lunch. They will come back in 3 weeks, so hopefully when they come back, we'll be able to get it finished, get it all glued down. None of it flew off in our high wind weather, so it wasn't hanging from the trees when we came in this morning, which was great. But I would say we're about 80% of what we needed to do to get it going, so we're really excited about that. I think that in the next meeting, there should be some conversation on whether we're going to charge for that. Is that going to be part of the fitness club? That would be included in that fee, you know, how we want to do that. The good part is that it will be able to be open the hours that the fitness club is open, so till 6 o'clock in the evenings and Saturdays till 1 is what the hours are right now. So that will give a little more time to play miniature golf than what we get the small window at the Thunderbird Center 3 months out of the year. Parker Southern case is set for trial. That is our Winnebago Trace case with the docks on Lake Thunderbird. Some of y'all may have been following that. They attempted to have it thrown out. The judge ruled it wasn't to be thrown out. We tried to do mediation. That was unsuccessful. They attempted to have it thrown out again. The judge wouldn't throw it out. We have a court date, June 12th and 13th. In the next 30 days, we'll be doing depositions of the Parker and Southerns, and hopefully all of that's going to come together pretty soon. I don't foresee that this is something that will be settled out of court. If we couldn't get anything settled in mediation, I think it's going to come down to the judge having to make a decision. Josh Buchanan with Southern Land Maintenance. Some of y'all may have heard us talking about that for the past several months, and we've gone to the state to try to look at licensing and insurance and all those things. check. So our only alternative is to basically go to court and file a claim to get our money back from you. The attorneys believe that this would be our only source of trying to retrieve those funds or to have any source of negotiation about those funds. So that's kind of in the air now until he is served and it goes to the next step. The only last thing that I want to ask of the commissioners is to remind y'all that next month is the month that we do recycling. So we would appreciate the month of April is the SID recycling month. That's our busy time of year at the golf courses and everywhere else. So pulling employees every Wednesday to do that. I would appreciate it if y'all could volunteer to maybe pull a couple of those 4 weeks of recycling. That's all I have for today.
Okay, thank you, Betsy.
Thank you.
Next, chairman's statement.
Now, before you go, I just would like to ask a question.
Okay.
And
I didn't have a problem with last meeting making the chairman's statement. So
you
what's,
sort of slid it in on us, and that's okay.
well, that's all I allowed you to make a statement, so let me make my statement and then we'll be gone, we'll be done with it. Move on to the next thing. Apparently there was some confusion over this whole thing, this is why this is being brought up. I'm sorry, I'm talking to this, about why I brought this up about the chairman meeting, and I'm just going to give you facts without giving you any of my opinion of whether or not this should happen, but this is how it happened. I was approached by Mr. Timley of asking why Mr. Neville wasn't voting as a chairman, and I said, I don't know, I just trusted what I was told. And I looked up Robert's rules, and I was mistaken on looking that up because then I found out in the meeting January 27th, we don't use Robert's rules. We signed a bylaw September 2023 that said from Holiday Island SID that we adopted that we don't use Robert's rules, we use Arkansas Municipal League. So that's where I simply did some research, and I did not find anywhere in the Arkansas Municipal rules that about SID commissioners, and it talks about the city council and the mayor. So I called the Holiday Island chairman, Randy Ralph, and they had the same questions as we did, so he told me that they got an opinion from their lawyers, and their lawyers simply said, you do get to vote and you do get to make a motion. So after he told me that, I approached our lawyers to get a ruling on it, and their opinion was that I do get to vote, but I can't make a motion, and as I passed out in the paper last week as to why. And that is simply all that the only thing, that's simply what happened, and I won't make any other comment. I'm sure there'll be further discussion when we get into the meeting. So with that, let's go into old business.
So do we not have any discussion about this, or what?
No, it was just
what is to do?
I was just a statement of what happened, the facts that how they happened. It's not my opinion on whether or not I should get to vote or not get to vote. I will discuss that during when we try to amend the bylaws. So, I didn't make any, I'm just going to say I didn't make any statements when you made your statement last week, and I expect the same respect. So with that, we have old business, amended bylaws. Our first order of business is property owners eligible for commissioner positions. So who would like to, what are we looking to do here?
I didn't hear what you said.
Property owners eligibility for commissioner positions.
I think the way I understand it, and I could be wrong, was in the past, they had to be not just a property owner, but a resident
Correct.
in here, because there's a lot goes on. If you bought a $200 lot somewhere, I'm not sure you'd have the same insight, and you lived in Timbuktu, that you'd have the same insight as people that live here on a full-time basis. But and it was my understanding that that's the way that we arranged that. I could be wrong.
Well, we adopted the Holiday Island bylaws that state that they have to be right? Is that what we have here? That be property owners?
Yeah, look at the first section that I've got
First section.
highlighted, your first attachment on the second page, number 4.
It
tells
says-
you what the nominees needed to be elected.
2, 2, 3.
Number 4.
She's got it highlighted.
Would you like me to read it?
Oh, I didn't get mine.
The next page, yeah, there you go, second page.
Right.
Number 4, it's highlighted.
And I,
Right. If you're not,
we did, at the time, we
Mhm.
decided to do this. Now, a couple of us wanted to include business owners who are also property owners and maybe live outside of the city limits, but in Ashland or Highland or Harding. But I was overruled, I went back and looked, and this is what we decided on back when we put these in order. But we worked for weeks, taking out Holiday Island stuff and making it for Cherry Village. And this is what the board at the time decided.
all right, so what this says, for everybody's information, if a nominee is elected, they must be able to abide by the following regulations. This is under nominations, paragraph 4. Number 1 says, remain a resident property owner. If they shall sell the property or relocate outside the CVSID boundaries, they forfeit their seat as commissioner. That's presently what it says now, so we're looking to, what was it, did someone have a proposal for something different?
The part of why I wanted to introduce it to some ongoing discussion is that we saw at our last election that nobody particularly was fired up to become commissioner. But we do have, and because of some other things I do in the area, we do have some business people who are property owners, maybe live in Ash Flat, maybe live in Harding, live in Highland, that would very much like to serve on the board. They're younger than we are, they're business people, maybe not younger than you, Tony, but they're younger than we are. Are you?
I'm older than Joe.
You're older than
Not much, but
But looking for some younger people who are enthusiastic, who have business background, who just aren't golfers and live here and are retired. So that's why I wanted to introduce the conversation again, to see if I could drum up any support, and I would call people and see if we can get some support for people. They're here 6 months a year, or they're here 365 days a year and just live outside that little dotted line that's Cherokee Village. I think we ought to be a little bit more broad-minded, period. We're thinking that we need to be thinking 15, 30 years down the road, and that's a whole other conversation, but if we had more base for our commissioners, I think it was a good job. And I'm not saying all of them, and that outside the city limits is one part of what I've been thinking. And the other part is maybe we increase our number, and I don't know how we do that, from 5 to 7 and have like 2 at-larges that could vote if they were here and were present. And we all know the people that are active in the group, or active in the community, but like the people, and I'm just going to say, if somebody from Germany wants to be an at-large member, we probably wouldn't vote for that person because we never met that person. But if somebody from a party that we all know and see every day wants to be, and we think, well, that person would do okay, then we ought to not shoot ourselves in the foot over this.
Well, to expand on that, I did look up some Arkansas laws and stuff like that and talked to a lawyer about it. Without giving an opinion either way, yes, I believe that it is allowed to have non-residents as commissioners, especially if it's more than 6,000 lots, I believe. It is also can be 3, 5, or 7, or I think it's 5 or 7. I read that earlier, but now I can't find that. So you're right. It can be. I think it can be increased to 7 members as well. As to whether or not I believe it or not, that'd be a different discussion if we go to vote. But anybody else have anything to say about that, or is there a motion that we need to make?
Well,
Or just rather
I don't know what we need to do. I just think that we need to, it's not this November that we're doing elections, but the following November is going to be here before we know it. We kind of maybe
No, this November.
This
This November. We don't have to vote.
Few months ago. Trust me, I've got it marked on my phone. Tell you the exact second that my term expires.
So you're not looking to necessarily make a decision today, but just want to start introducing it so we can start discussing it.
So that we can, yeah, so that we can
Yeah.
look out and talk to people that might be interested who we flat told no when we started this
I
thing.
understand.
So I don't know how we need to do that.
I
Yes,
think
go ahead.
On this, we've got several safety factors. If we just change the wording, number 4, 1, they remain a property owner, we take out resident. And we have a safety backup in our rules and regulations where if they miss 3 meetings in a year, they're no longer a commissioner. So it should cover us. That's a simple fix, just remain a property owner, take the resident out. Would that
Want to
cover
say
everybody?
living in Sharp or Fulton County?
Pardon?
Would you want to say living in Sharp or Fulton County, or?
No. No, there's a property owner, period. It's either, yeah.
But I think, now that's what I might dither with you, but if they don't live here and come here, if they live in, if they live in Howell County and they only come here to play golf, I don't think that, well, that would,
Well, if you're a property owner, you're a property owner, and you have a vested interest either way. I'm thinking is what you're trying to say. So I don't think it really matters where you live, as long as you're a property owner. If that's what you can't have it both ways. Either it's you say they're a resident or they're a non-resident, is what it looks like from what the Arkansas law states. Either we vote that you have to be a resident property owner, or you can just be a property owner.
so if we leave it property owner, you still got to be nominated.
Yes, you have to still go through the rest of it.
Okay.
It's just eligibility
So what are the
we have to
down-
decide.
What would be the downfalls of it not being somebody that lives specifically in Sharp or Fulton County?
Well, personally, I think the downfall of being a non-resident, at least if I'm looking at it that way, is they don't live here on a more permanent basis as those of us that are residents. So they're not as affected as much as about some of the things as they are. Case in point, the Sequoia Dam. They don't live here. They could still have an issue with that too, I guess. I'm just trying to think. Just say I've heard from others that think that if you're a resident here, you have a more vested interest, and that you're, if you don't just have some piece of little property over somewhere, that you have a house here, you live here, you're here most of the time, you see what's happening a lot more often than those who don't live here. If I were living in Memphis all the time and just coming back and forth little by little, I really don't have my thumb on, I don't really have a good idea of what's going on a day-to-day basis here. And I think being a resident, I'm here more often, I run into more people, I talk to more people, and I get more of an idea of what's going on. So, is that better? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So I would say that as far as that side goes, being a resident has its advantages. But like I said, by law, there's nothing that permits us to have non-residents. There's no law that says we cannot have just property owners only, that they do not have to be residents.
I understand where Susan's coming from, and we've known each other for eons, and if we disagree, we disagree. Just my common sense and my gut feeling is that they need to be a resident of Cherokee Village. That's just me. I'm one guy, and everybody can do something different. But it just seems to me like you would have a better grip of what's going on here, because let's say you lived in Anchorage, Alaska, and you had never been here in your entire life, and you bought a $150 lot somewhere out here, and you decide you want to run for commissioner because you're a G here, and they get elected, and they're like, well, I'll fly down there and go to the meeting once or twice. I'm not sure they would have a grip on what's going on within our community. That's just me.
Well, and I understand that completely, but then we got to get them through the nomination
see both sides.
Yeah, and if we, I don't even want to say out loud.
I'm a stubborn old dog. I walk the same path to the feed bowl every day, so it's hard for me to change. My feed bowl fell over.
Somebody,
Do we need to change any address to that number 4?
well, we haven't voted on anything yet.
Well,
so-
if I'm fixing to make an amendment, but I'd like to make it an inclusive thing if we can.
Don't know what else, everything else there has to be there.
As a resident, okay, in.
They have to do, after 30 days, they have to file their oath of office.
Yeah, have y'all done that?
Oath of office, yeah, they did that.
Okay.
And they have to do their financial, so, and then the financial disclosure also has to be done.
I was looking up at number C, paragraph C, number 2. The last sentence says, a residential property owner may self-nominate. Do we want to change that to a property owner may nominate, or should we leave it as somebody who lives here to nominate somebody? And that might, you know, as underhanded as sometimes it can be, I don't know. I don't know whether it has to be somebody that lives here or.
So you're saying to change that to just be a property owner may self-nominate?
Do you think there's a way to go, that language go along there with what we're doing in number 4? I don't know, David or Ron or Joe, if y'all have an opinion. I just, it seems like if we don't do it in one place, we should not do it in all places.
I agree with you, Sue. We need to take that word out of C. I was thinking about that in the first place. And I think if we can open it up to people who are property owners, I'm sorry, Joe, you might not agree with me, but I think we have a better field of individuals who could actually act as property owners and actually act as good commissioners for the benefit of the property owner. That's who I look for, the property owners. And that's what we're looking for.
Okay, so number 2, scratch the word residential.
Yes, ma'am, that's what I want to add to the amendment, to the recommendation.
I failed to write down the wording to make a motion to make a change to an amendment. I looked at it and I thought, well, I won't forget that. And here we are, 2 hours
I
later.
can go ahead and give us time if you want to write it down.
Okay, I'd like to make an amendment change to Article 1, Section 2, paragraph Section 2-1, and it goes, Section 1 is the Board of Commissioners, and then under that in Part C is where area that I'm talking about.
License, right?
Right?
Correct.
And in number 2, the last sentence has a resident. Let me read the whole thing just in case I got it out. During the nomination meeting, which will be the 3rd Monday in October, during the nomination meeting, any property owner in attendance may make 1 nomination. Nominees must be present at the nomination meeting to accept the nomination or have presented at the meeting a signed notarized letter indicating the same. A residential property owner may self-nominate.
Right, residential.
Okay, so that whole one and two, that whole number 2 makes a lot of sense to me. Just the way it's written. We had one guy stand up and nominate himself that first round.
Okay, so all right, and then continue on with,
Okay, the part 3 says the nominees will draw numbers from a container to determine their name placement on the ballot.
correct.
And then this is part 4. If a nominee is elected, they must abide by the following regulations. And I propose that sentence changes, sentence is remain a resident property owner, change it to remain a property owner. If they sell their property or relocate outside of the CDSID boundaries, they forfeit their seat as commissioner. And that's,
You would have to change that to,
Strike resident.
If they sell their property.
Or-
If they forfeit their seat as commissioner.
if they sell their property.
Now, and now relocate, doesn't matter, so I'm that. We need to-
Yes, I said, you gotta strike that.
But it, okay, now further, outside CBS, but I want to find the part where they have to attend so many meetings, because I want to make sure that we don't,
You don't have, if you're not gonna amend that, you don't have to include that.
all right, it keeps on,
So-
within 30 days, we don't need to read that paragraph about the, we got to go to the courthouse and submit our financials and blah, blah. In the event that there's only one nominee per vacancy, the nominee will be declared and elected by acclamation. That's how Tony and I got it this
So,
last time.
is there anything else that needs to be changed in any of that?
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at.
Okay,
In the
see.
event there's, are not sufficient, that's this, okay. And then there's nothing about the notice of nominations and election that needs to be changed. That's pretty
I
much.
think that's.
Yeah, I think that's the only place where it's.
So
My.
you make a motion to amend Section 2, Article 2, Division 1, Section 2-1-1, Paragraph C, to change number 2 to eliminate residential in the line that says a residential property owner may self-nominate. And then in number 4, under 1, remain a property owner. If they shall sell their property, they forfeit their seat as commissioner. Is that correct?
That's correct. So I'm.
Okay, the motion's been made. Is there a second?
So who made the motion?
You did, didn't you?
That's what I thought we were doing. Is there a second?
I second.
All right, is there any discussion? I know Joe says he feels he'd rather not see that. He'd like to keep residents. I now will make my opinion, and I also feel that I think you should be a resident. I understand that it can be given to anybody that's not one by law, but we can make that decision through the bylaws, and I feel more like he said, I think you'd be closer to here, you'd be here all the time, and my opinion is I think you should be a resident. Any other discussions for or against? We ready for call for a vote?
Roll call.
Roll call, please. Betsy, could you roll call us?
Susan Jett,
Yes.
Joe Kaiser,
No.
Tony Stallsmith,
No.
Ron Page,
Yes.
and David Eagle.
Yes.
The vote is 3-2. The bylaws have been changed. If we'll have that drawn up, that we can sign it for the next meeting. Thank you. Next up is.
So let me
Sure.
ask you
Yes.
this. So this officially changes our bylaws, is that correct?
Yes.
I mean, would we need to have a special meeting to change our bylaws on
No.
the first reading, second reading, or can we just do it
No,
all
there's-
right here?
We're done. Because there's nothing in there that says that. Unless we find out differently later. So, next up is Chair of Commissioners' Voting Rights. Is there a motion or a discussion that needs to be done?
My question is, why, after you've been participating as long as you have, why did it become an issue in January of 2025?
I told you in my statement, why.
So what happened? I don't, Tony, what I want to know is what happened that made us go from 3.5 years of you, that seat deciding to tie? What happened that you need to be able to make motions and or vote?
It hasn't been that long, actually. Tim Lee did vote. I pulled up the minutes as I was told to do, and he's here today, and he can even testify to that. April 22, 2022, or August 22, 2022, his last meeting, he was the chairman of that meeting. The vote came up about the selling of the lots, and there were 3 yes votes, and there was 1 no vote. That was Tim Lee's. He voted that time, and it was recorded. So he has been voting he voted all the time too. So it only started when Ron took over, and I don't know why y'all changed it then, because I wasn't here. And then David said, when he became chairman, that he didn't get to vote, and I wasn't sure I understood why, but I trusted what David said. So, like I said, the only reason that it came up was that Tim asked me, why is Nebel not voting? And that's how it all started. In my statement, I gave you the reasons what led to me wanting to vote. I don't understand why you wouldn't want me to vote. It's still majority wins. And I am a elected official. I have the equal privilege as everybody else on this board. And I feel that everyone should get a vote, including the chairman. The chairman's job is only to run the meeting. It is not to not give up his position to not get to vote on any issue. When it comes down to when people start looking back through the minutes, they get to see who voted for yes and who voted no. And they'll know where I stood on any given issue. And that's all, and that is how that came about.
So why didn't you do something about it when Tim Lee asked you why David wasn't voting?
That's why he did that right before, that's when it all started.
And why didn't you do something about it then when he asked you about it?
He did. I looked up Robert's rules when he asked me about it. I looked up Robert's rules, and remember I brought it into that special meeting, and I said I would get to vote, and then you guys said, no, we don't follow Robert's rules. We follow Arkansas municipal leagues. And I said, oh, okay. And I asked Ron David during that meeting. David said no, chairman doesn't get to vote. Ron said the same thing. So I accepted it at that point. And after it was over with, I looked up Arkansas Municipal League, and that's when I started doing my research.
So I don't mind what you do, I just wonder why it was so cloaked that you just started it in January, but if...
I said that's when Tim
the money
Lee...
that you spend talking to the lawyer is, that's something else we need to talk about, but, what I don't want to happen, and I have not called the lawyer, but I did ask Betsy this, is with you and with the chairman not voting back since when Tim Lee left, has there been a vote that the chairman voting would overturn so that we've got to go back and do everything we've done for the last 3.5 years?
We'll have to...
There was
3.5 years.
There was one where I had to do the deciding vote.
Well,
There was one.
there was just one, so.
Okay. So what's the difference if I vote or not then?
It doesn't. But I don't-
Okay, then why are we discussing that? I don't understand why you want to take away any commissioner's right to vote.
I'm not taking away anything, Tony. We just have never done it that way.
Okay, but that doesn't mean that was correct.
No, sir. So you, I asked and you answered.
Yes.
And you keep
And in January, I was asked by Tim Lee.
dithering about why. So you explained it, and so if you want to vote and make motions, and it's in the rules that you've so carefully given us, go for it.
Okay, well, it doesn't say I can, our lawyers believe that I cannot make motions. And that is why I will adhere to what our lawyers have said.
So you're either going to make a motion or you're going to vote.
No, I gave you that paper.
I'm hearing about every other word. Tony.
Okay, I gave you that paper, right? The paper from last meeting. It says, chairman's voting rights. Yes, the bylaws permit the chair to vote. It states motions require a majority commissioner, and as a chair is a commissioner, he's entitled to vote. This is the lawyer's opinion. Chair presenting motions. Bylaws are silent on this issue. While non-chair members must address the chair to make motions, there's no provision for the chair to do so. Historically, under the current bylaws, I understand from you that SID chairs have not presented motions. Without clear authorization in the bylaws, doing so now could risk commission actions being deemed invalid by a court if the action was triggered due to a motion by the chair. That said, we recommend you as a chairperson refrain from presenting motions unless the bylaws are amended to clarify this. And I have not made any motion, I have not addressed making any motions to change the bylaws in that manner. I will adhere to what my lawyers have said.
I guess it's over my head. The whole lawyer thing, you can get 20 lawyers together and they'll have 40 different answers. My wife worked for one for 30 some odd years, so I've never ever in my entire life served on a board where the chairman voted. They always broke the tie, or they pretty much ran the meeting and stopped it. It was almost like a sergeant at arms kind of. You ran the meeting and made sure it went smooth, and they didn't really vote on the matters because it didn't really matter. You had enough other people voting that the chairman's vote wouldn't have mattered. We're a small group, so there's 5 of us. So in that event, you could get a 2 and 2, you would have to break the vote if that happened, if it tied. That is typically what I have been involved in. So, but I know the lawyers have all got different opinions. I mean, personally, I wouldn't mind to talk to that fellow and see what his opinions are, that lawyer, but I'm not gonna call him, and I don't wanna get us into any more money. But anyway, that's just my statement. It didn't matter, Hill Beans, but that's just what I think.
Tony, when I first became the chairman by acclamation, I talked to the Arkansas Municipal League about being chairman because I thought we had a lot of things that David, Joe, I, and Susan needed to vote on, and yet we only had 4 of us. So that's what they said, only if you need to break a tie, or only if you need to add your opinion to the positive of where you want to take the group. And that was a little bit convoluted to me when I talked to him, and I said, well, let's get an example. And he said, you are eligible to vote when you tie. You are eligible to vote and provide your opinion, but your vote may not count. And that was another issue that bothered me. But for almost 18 months, I lived with that, and we seemed to do pretty well. Because we were working on cleaning up after the hailstorm. We were just busier than one of our paper hangers, all of us, trying to make sure that the golf course was operational. We had a little bit of a situation with making sure the water was on the course and we didn't lose them. We had people on the lakes, specifically the wake boat issue, which required an enormous amount of time. And I gave them my opinion, period, not asking for a vote, but here's what I found, just like Tony has been doing today. And that's what I salute right there.
So is there a motion, or are we done discussing this?
The meeting that Tim voted in was that August meeting because there were only 4 commissioners.
Correct. He was the chairman.
And he also vacated his position.
After that, it doesn't matter. He has a recorded vote as commissioner. So the commissioner he had been voting all along. So y'all changed the policy. I don't know why. I mean, I don't know why. I wasn't there.
He voted on that?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Did you not vote?
Yeah, and that's why I'm
So he's already doing it.
I'm doing it already.
I sort of slid into it, so.
I didn't slide into it. I went by,
And then you slid into it. There's several of us that think you want to just be a tiebreaker.
Oh.
no, I want my vote to count. I want my vote to be recorded, and I want people to know where I stand. That's it.
And in all honesty, that's exactly what we've heard from the group today, that they want to know how each single commissioner voted on a particular item. And I think that makes a lot of sense.
So do we have a
Even
motion?
if I vote no.
I'll live by whatever the vote is. I mean, that's what we do here. Do we have a motion, or are we done discussing this?
A motion for what?
I don't know. I don't know what this chair for commissioners voting rights is. Is there?
I'd like to speak here.
Okay.
First off, if you go back to the July 23rd minutes, that's when Mr. Page spoke about us following the Arkansas Municipal League. And since we were blindsided by Tony in the last meeting about the chair voting, I wish he had brought this up in a positive manner instead of blindsiding us. We have for 2 years followed his president of with the chair not voting. Personally, I have no problem with the chair voting. It's just the manner in which Mr. Stallsmith went about presenting this. If he had done it in the way we were supposed to do it, instead of through his chairman comments, it would have been a lot better. But as this goes, I am going to make a motion to be added to our bylaws that the chair does have the right to vote.
And make motions.
Can I just, I will quickly respond to you.
The chairman has the right to vote.
To vote, not make motions. I do not
Not make
know,
motions.
not make motions,
That's
because right now, I will say this, I wasn't meaning to blindside you. I did not find out the ruling from the lawyers until about an hour before we came to that meeting that day. Because I'd asked them and asked them, well, I didn't ask and ask, I asked one time, and they said they would get back to me. And it was, I taught school at 1 o'clock that day, and I got out at 3 o'clock, and at 3 o'clock I opened up my email, and there it was, I finally got the motion on that, or get the opinion from the lawyers on that. So I'm sorry if you felt blindsided. I wasn't trying to blindside anybody. I didn't think this was that big of an issue, actually, because I just think that it's just another vote, and majority still wins, and I will always accept what the majority of our commission, whatever they say, that's what the majority, that's what we do, whether I vote for or against it. So you're making a motion
To
add to our bylaws that the commission, the chairman can vote, but he cannot make motions.
Right. That will be under section 251, rules and procedures.
Roger. Under 251. Do I have a second for that?
I'll second that.
A motion by David Nagel, and a second by Zach. Call to a vote. That's you can call it.
Susan Jeff? Susan Jeff?
She's thinking.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not rushing.
I know that's hard to do. Okay, I say yes with the added, maybe added discussion before I say yes. If this turns out to be some kind of
Okay.
dark thing and takes away from us being transparent with everything we do, I'm going to read it down.
Okay, I understand, but we are to vote now, please.
So now that I've added that discussion, I will vote yes to let the chairman vote, not make motions, just like that cut and pasted piece of paper said.
Okay.
Tony, it's 2-1, not 2-5.
2-1, gotcha.
Okay, structure.
2-1, oh, I see what you suggested where it does in there, 2-1 instruction.
Yes.
Joe, go ahead.
Joe Kaiser?
Yes.
Tony Stallsmith?
Yes.
Ron Page?
Yes.
Dave Eagle?
Yes.
Okay, it is passed unanimously. We'll move on now to new business. Is there any new business at all? I just thought of one thing, I don't know if it's under business or under, the Lions Club is offering some help with fixing the ice machine at the South Course, if that is possible.
There's no ice machine to fix.
There's no ice machine there? Or maybe purchase one also. They said they would be interested in helping with the purchase of an ice machine to help out with these golf tournaments, because it's hard to bring more ice from the North Course up there. I just put that out as new business for something for next meeting that we
Okay.
could talk about. Any other new business?
This is kind of new business, but if we got an update from our lake guy on his installing all that, and fish regulations and so forth, or any updates on that?
Yes, he has done 57 of the artificials, 40 of the real. I've gotten a bill for half of it. So it's not that much.
Have you got a monthly report from our lawn services this month?
He just get weekly reports, lots of leaf removals and stuff, you know, he's really not completely started up with full lawn service, he's just still doing cleanup before we get to season.
Okay.
Each week he's sending me an email and sending me photographs of before and after of what he's done.
Thank you.
Can you please forward that to all the commissioners?
Sure.
Any other new business before we move on? And if we do not have any more new business, property owners' opportunity again to comment. You have 3 minutes.
Can you, let me finish right where I'm saying.
Okay.
New business next meeting, that's all.
Just 1 second.
Okay, I'm ready.
All right. Go ahead, Mr. Gerger.
Dave Gerger back again, twice in one day, how about that? First off, I'd like to see if we can get the bylaws on the website, because none of us can follow along with what y'all got. In which I think there should have been some kind of notification to the property owners of a bylaw change before, that's just my personal opinion. Secondly, on the,
Say that again, you want what? You want notification before?
I think it would have been good for notification of the property owners if the bylaw change together. I think you would.
So.
What are you saying?
You wanted us to notify people in addition to the meeting today?
Well, yeah, yes.
We'd like to see the bylaws on the website.
On the website, but I think y'all, if you're gonna make changes to the bylaw, you should have let the public know, or the property owners know.
Because we might have.
That's just my opinion. Y'all do what you want. On the property owners issue being able to serve on the commission, as somebody who owns commercial property, has operated commercial property inside the village, I was told back then I can't extend my privileges to the people that visit my store. In other words, I can't say he's a guest, here's his receipt, give him a visitor's card. So how is it a business owner is going to have the right part for the property owners when more likely he's going to be looking at what's going to be best for his business? So property owners have no skin in the game, and I think we should leave it at that.
Property owners have skin in the game.
Yeah, listen.
Business owners, property owners that, this is just.
Businesses have no skin in the game because they don't get a benefit. They are assessed the benefit, but they can't convey that benefit to their guests, like we as property.
But would you
Okay,
like your input from
no.
here?
Susan, please. Let us make this comment.
That's my suggestion. Thank you.
Okay, so-
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry.
Anybody, that's okay. Anybody else?
I don't think I need to go over the microphone because it's not on anyway. Kristen Causey, I live at 2 Cody Drive. And
Interesting.
I think that allowing someone who doesn't live in the village to become a commissioner is probably the dumbest thing possible.
Thank you. Do I have any other comments? Any other owner discussion?
Evidently, my new medicine is working, because I really want to smart my ass off, and I'm not.
All right. With that, is there any move for executive session? And if there's not, do we need a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
David Nebel, second. Anybody?
I'll second.
Ron seconds it. All approved? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Motion.